All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Sudeep here, your host for the afternoon. I welcome everyone for this fireside chat on crafting your data science brand. So without further ado, let me quickly introduce our guests. It's my pleasure to introduce Steve Nouri. Steve is currently the head of data science and artificial intelligence at Australian Computer Society. He's an award-winning technical leader specializing in data science and advanced analytics. Steve has developed extensive computational and analytical expertise in diverse range of application domains. He's also a member of the Forbes Council. uh, Steve is responsible for design, development, and evaluation of intelligent systems, both in commercial enterprise and research contexts. These systems involve the management and efficient analysis of extremely large data sets, employing cutting edge learning algorithms and high weight resource management platforms. Steve is a proactive social media contributor and LinkedIn influencer in AI and data science. I look forward to Steve's posts every day. And now I would like to introduce Steve, welcome. Now I would like to introduce Snehanshu. Happy to introduce Snehanshu. Snehanshu heads the Center of Excellence for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence at NASSCOM. He is responsible for creating, nurturing, and scaling up of vibrant AI ecosystem that involves driving AI adoption, acceleration of AI startups, leveraging AI for social good, work with enterprises to co-innovate and promote academic research and AI skilling. He has about 2 decades of demonstrated experience in driving business transformation and delivering business impact through data science and AI. He's known for developing strategy, creating and nurturing world-class capabilities, delivering value proposition to global clients, driving innovation and managing P&L. With that, I hand it over to Steve and Snehanshu. Over to you.
Thank you, Sudeep. Just quickly doing a tech check. Am I audible? Am I visible? Sudeep, give me a yes if you can.
Yes, I can hear you.
Lovely.
Perfect.
So good morning, good afternoon to you all, depending upon your local time zone. Data science has come a long way in the last 2 decades, and by all available indications, it's set to grow and become even more embedded, not just into corporate decision making, but more so into our lives. The inherent appeal of this discipline lies in creating measurable impact, and probably this is prompting an ever increasing number of professionals to see this as a career of choice. But then the argument also is that a career is actually made over decades, not few years, and hard work focused towards creating outcomes for business will always be the bedrock of a successful career. But a career will also need to be crafted apart from individual brilliance. You need to make a range of smart choices and career paths. And investing in crafting a personal brand has been seen to go a long way in impacting career trajectories. Who better than Steve today, who is a social media contributor, a LinkedIn influencer, to discuss all of this and learning from him as to how we can go about crafting your own data science brand. So hello, Steve. Welcome to this session of In Conversation With. Lovely to have you with us today.
Thank you very much, Snehanshu. Thank you, NASSCOM, for having me today. Super excited to be among all you guys talking about data science and AI, which is a favorite topic dear to my heart. Yeah, as you just mentioned, it's very important. If you want to be successful, you need to be very carefully crafting your skills and also showcasing your skills by having a brand awareness and personal branding on social media in general.
Steve, one view is that data scientists are hot commodity, right? The world takes note of their skills. They are in high demand. But what drives the need for personal branding in an area like data science that is typically a skill set in high demand? Do we really need to craft a personal brand as a data
That's a great question. So that's right. It is very high demand, but also you're producing a lot of data scientists monthly, daily, different universities in Australia, in India. You're definitely aware of it. Many people are graduating from different institutes and universities. Some of them are doing online courses, and in different ways, people are claiming the title as a data scientist to be false or true. That's another discussion, but it means that the demand is high, but the production is high as well. So in order to just step up and kind of make yourself visible within that huge crowd of people with the similar title and skills, personal branding will be crucial. So you need to differentiate yourself, stand out from the crowd by just making sure you let everyone know who you are and what you have to deliver and what makes you better than the others. That's right now one of the major problems for like HR managers and recruiters to sieve through all these applicants that kind of they are all similarly delivering the same value. They're claiming that they're delivering the same value, and by just looking in a 1 or 2 page resume, it's very difficult to differentiate among like 1,000 or a couple of hundred applicants. I've been a recruiter, a HR kind of assistant through the process as a head of data science, and through my like being a manager, through my career as a manager, I had to go through many interviews with a lot of applicants, more than 100. And they were already shortlisted and kind of they were all in the same situation that were considered a contender. And what happens is still you have a lot of steps to go through to find the right candidate. And I'm sure these days everybody agrees that social media would be super helpful to do these, shortlisting before wasting anybody's time in many interviews, and that's the reason that it's getting kind of a hotter topic.
Now that we have established the need for a personal branding, let's get into a little bit of a how. And a lot of people tuning in today want to learn from you. What have been your lessons, lessons from your own individual journey as a LinkedIn influencer? What are some of the principles of personal branding that you have followed and you have become the brand that you are?
That's a great question. So first of all, the good news about personal branding is that everybody can have their own journey to the personal branding because it's personal. Not everyone can play by the game that like some influencers will set. So that's a good news. So, and that's very important that you understand that it's not only one way to become successful. Everybody can just change the whole situation as they want. But my journey and my experience told me that the best way to kind of establish your personal brand, first of all, you need to be true to yourself. Understand what are your skill set, what do you have to offer to others, because the major importance of the personal brand is actually showcasing what you have and make people excited to learn more about it, get in touch with you, and kind of deliver value to your audience as well. It's not just saying that I won an award. that's fine. That's great. If you're sharing a certificate, if you're sharing um, last hackathon award you won, that's perfect. But that's not the only thing that you need to do. And a lot of people just stop there. Every week, every month, they just come back and just share certificate, an image of certificate saying done. Um, that's not, as a recruiter, as a data science leader, I'm looking forward in a candidate. If you want to showcase yourself, there's a lot of way to do it, but one way is to deliver value by showcasing your journey of learning. If you're a data science learner, the best way is to showcase what you're learning right now. Where is your take take away from a special course? Don't share your certificate only. That's great, but share something that delivers value to your audience. Say, I did my course at Andrew Nguyen deep learning course at Coursera. Great, that's my accomplishment. But these are 5 or 4 takeaways for me as a data science learner. I started my journey 3 years ago when I was a lecturer at university. And back then, there were a lot of, I wasn't actually very active on LinkedIn 3 years ago. I was like a lot of other people. Once a week, would share something to just say, hey, I'm still alive. But back then, my students were asking questions repeatedly about what's a good source to learn, I don't know, like Python. What's a good source to learn SQL Server or so far? And I had to just search and find things and share with them. And back then I thought, all right, maybe that's not just my students looking for these materials. Maybe there are more people interested. Let's give it a try. And I started sharing the same thing, which was my passion, which was something that I knew about, with others without thinking what's going to happen. And it just like clicked. People started to sharing it and interacting with my post and I don't know, like thanking me for the contribution, and kind of it took off from there. I never kind of deviated from what I wanted as a focus, always stayed in the line of sharing things that I know about. And that's also important to understand, that you need to have a focus. Sharing what you know or what is your passion is important, rather than just going by the rules because somebody shared an animal, cute animal, and got like 2,000 likes and comments. I need to just share a lot of cute animals from tomorrow just because I want the likes. That's not going to help you. It's not going to get you any data science role.
Yeah, you have in many ways created a beautiful segue. I particularly like the fact that you spoke about about showcasing your journey of learning. A very, very important message to people who have tuned in today. The other big thing to me that you spoke about was how do you deliver value to the audience. Let's make it about collective learning and not just about uh, telling why you are so great, right? And that's a strong message to me. And in some ways, you also created an opening for the next question that I had in mind that I wanted your views on, which is, you know, developing your brand in data science is to be done in a nuanced manner. It should not come across as self-aggrandizing behavior, right? And not everybody really does it right. My question to you is, what are some of the mistakes to avoid in the process of establishing a brand?
Yeah, so as I just mentioned, you're totally right. There are lots of people making mistakes, delivering the value or showcasing their own brand. And as I just mentioned, um, don't just follow others because you have seen someone being famous or successful. Understand the way to become successful, because things change. And if today sending images of cute dogs is interesting, next month maybe people start realizing that maybe LinkedIn is not a good place for that, and you will be left alone with your content and nobody is interested, right? So just make sure you understand yourself first and understand what would deliver value. Don't just follow others. And the other mistake that I can see a lot of people will do, without having the skills, they will jump into the being an influencer or contributor. So I know that probably many of you right now on the call are maybe kind of not very senior, maybe just beginners, maybe freshers. Uh, and that's fine. You're learning. As I said, when you're not an influencer and you cannot just say, that's it, you need to learn this. You can just say what you are doing. Share your journey. Let people's kind of understand your journey and maybe get along with you on the journey, and you learn together. If you're learning Python right now and something interesting you learned today, that in pandas you can add column to this data frame easily by just putting this line of code, that's what you need to share now. Don't just go there and say, I want to predict the future of data science, and because Bernard Marr is doing that and it's working for him. Um, that's also important. The second thing is, a lot of people don't understand liking and commenting and interacting with influencers and people who are actually established is going to help your brand. It's not, it is going to help others, but it is majorly going to help your brand, because you will be seen there as a person who hasn't done anything on LinkedIn. You just joined LinkedIn, nobody knows you, right? If you share something, who knows about you? Who will see that on their social feed? Probably just your friend. It's fine. But the best way is to understand that your collaboration with others will actually give you the limelight to become more seen by others. I remember when I started that, um, for a couple of months, I started just interacting with all the influencers on internet and delivering value to their posts and to them. So if someone's sharing something about Python programming, I would go and comment there and say, thank you for your post. I know that this is another source available. And what happened, because they have a lot of followers, those followers will check my comment. Maybe 10 of them will see that. Maybe 5 of them will see that. And maybe you get lucky, you get more. But what happens, you get a little bit of limelight out of that. So don't make that mistake that if I go and like somebody's post, I'm only going to help them. And then maybe I'm not getting anything back for it. And the last one that I'm going to share is just don't jump into a connection with an influencer and ask for something right away. Because let's say if someone has 2,000 connections or 3,000 connections, and let's say I'm going to go upper, let's say Bill Gates. If I just go right now and connect to Bill Gates and say, hi, Bill Gates, you can help me to become very successful. You can find a job for me, or you can buy me a Surface Pro. That's anything for me. Okay. So if you're thinking to get right away value from connecting to someone that actually is established, don't do that. Make the relation a long-term process. Make some trust, some bonding. It will take time. And by jumping into a conversation, you're ruining it. You're actually cutting the trust rope. So please don't do that. Always start with interaction, connection, and giving value. Delivering value is more important than asking for some kind of favor. That favor is not going to happen. Nobody is on LinkedIn to just do favor for others. They want to do a social good work. Social good means to public. If somebody is sharing something great to public, it will be seen by many people. If you have your personal question that I have a problem with my source code. Can you please debug my code? That will only help you. I know it will help you, that's good, but not all the influencers are there to debug individuals' code.
Fairly detailed, fairly detailed. Lots coming out of that response, Steve. When we put this session up on LinkedIn and we advertise it through our social media channels, a lot of interest came in, and we received more than 70 questions, right? And while it would be beyond the scope of one single discussion to be able to pick up all the questions, but what the team did internally was to curate a set of questions that we can take a look at. So this is coming on audience request.
Right.
Very diverse, nice set of questions. Uh, the background to this question is that, as most students enter this profession, there is a sense of anticipation on how one becomes more accomplished. Now, Hassan Jaber, who is a student from the Lebanese American University, has a question for you. The question is, how do you establish yourself as a data scientist after learning the basics and working on a few small projects?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people are asking all the time, like, how can I be a data scientist, right? And there are lots of different courses and websites talking about pathways to become a data scientist. So one way is just doing the courses, and I can just make it easy and say, do a Python course. If somebody asking me why not R, I'm just going to make it easy and say, because Python seems to be the winning bet. But there are lots of other choices, all right? Don't make it difficult for yourself. If you're going to just join and start, do the Python course, do some, learn some basics as well as you're going forward. So as you're learning Python and you want to learn machine learning, do a little bit of basics and fundamentals of stats and mathematics, because that will go a very long way for you as a data scientist. And learning deep learning, going to kind of conclude your basic understanding as a data analyst and data scientist. But from there, you have a kind of lots of different choices, right? If you want to be an NLP data scientist, you want to be a computer vision data scientist, these days, data science is kind of becoming super extensive, that nobody can just claim to be kind of a full stack all around data scientist in all these different areas. That kind of unicorn, I still haven't met, maybe somewhere out there, but you don't need to get there. Just find your niche, and as you go further, you may change your direction a little bit based on your understanding and based on the your interest, right? That's totally fine. But to be a data scientist, I guess, make the basic right. If you're a beginner, do a couple of Kaggle competitions. It will always add value for you to do some hands-on work before joining any companies. That would be a question for you. What have you done? And if you say, I did an iris dataset classification, that will not get you much. Do something a little bit out of your league, and challenge yourself. I had a student asking me, why they're paying data scientists that much money? Because you get a data set, you connect it to some sort of machine learning model, and that's the result coming out of it. So that's the understanding of people who have never done any challenging work, all right? So get the reality of life. When you go to work, you will see that. But let's get it a little bit earlier. Jump into a Kaggle competition, see what you can do. And also, the other way to establish yourself as a data scientist, help some open source projects. Find open source projects that are out there. People are helping each other to deliver some value. Contribute to the open source project. If you think you cannot do that as like you're probably a very beginner and you're not comfortable contributing to an open source project, find an open source project that is right in your alley. Try to refactor, change, and add a little bit features to it. For example, finding um, computer vision classification uh, algorithm that will classify two different objects, make it a little bit robust and add a little bit more value. By this, you will learn things and you also contribute, and that branding will be made through this contribution to the public. And as I said, then you definitely can call yourself a data science learner and kind of a beginner, um, but like you would be established data scientist when you actually join a real job and do real work, where you would understand all the bits and pieces needed to um, um, be a data scientist.
And I see a little bit of a reluctance as I look around, Steve, where just to put that up, that I'm a data science learner, right, does not seem to be fancy enough. I seem to have a compulsive need to put myself out as a full stack data scientist with 2 years of experience. Fact is, you can never get to that stage without having at least a decade worth of experience. So I hope people who have tuned into this discussion, hopefully a good part of you are students and early stage data science professionals. Uh, these are some of the ways in which you can be honest, and that also will reflect in the kind of exercise that you undertake for establishing your brand. Right?
Totally. Yes.
Fantastic. I will move on to the next question, which is really that as we talk further, Steve, there's a realization that there cannot be a standard recommendation or a template for creating your data science brand. Manish Narayan, who is a senior data scientist with Agara Labs, asks a very good question. He asks, how does personal brand building differ when you're focusing on fundamental versus applied research versus leadership positions in data science and artificial intelligence? Would you need to fundamentally do different kinds of activities to establish your brand?
Yes. So establishing your personal brand is essentially means that you showcase yourself as the person with the skills. And also by adding value to the community, you kind of let everyone know that you can do it, right? For example, let's say you make an algorithm that will do something extraordinary and you share it with the public, and it will be shared with multiple people and they will all come back and say thank you. Your GitHub account will have a lot of stars and blah. That is some way making your personal brand, right? And it is different. Yes, it is different. The action, the way that you contribute and what you're contributing to will be different when you are pursuing different careers in data science and outside data science. So let's say if you want to be a researcher. So for a researcher, it's more important to publish articles, but that's a normal thing. Everybody is doing it. So what you can do as a researcher to take that article, which is probably in a gibberish language for a lot of beginners, and translate it into something super easy, understandable video, 5-minute video, just talking about your recently published article. And for someone that actually is not academic, make it interesting. And then share your code and make it available for everyone to play with. That's for someone that's going to continue in that route of becoming a researcher. So you will see that's a little bit different from someone that's would like to be known as a manager or executive in data science. Then you need to, as a manager, you need to have insights. You need to do something else. That's different. It's like, for example, you're going to talk about how you build a data science team. You're going to talk about what problem may happen when your project gets bigger or scalable, and you might like to talk about different tools and different project managing tools that are out there, and how to define a data science project and how to measure it. And that's the different contribution that you are sharing insights. Make it a nugget, make it simple, make it short. Don't write a very long article that cannot be read by normal people, and just share it with the public. So these are kind of a different way of doing it, but at the same time, it is also similar in a way that you need to deliver value to the mass, not to just a specific people, and you need to interact and you need to be available. These are the stuff that will help branding and kind of that's similar across different areas.
One final question that has come in, that the background to this question, Steve, is that good part of personal brand building and something that you emphasized on is investing in your own knowledge base. There's plenty of content on the internet. The question that Santosh GSK, who is a founder of Applied AI Works, asks us is, how do you keep up to date with or keep up pace with the latest AI papers and research articles? How do you choose which ones to go through, read, educate yourself?
Yeah, that's also super important for people in data science and AI. Things change super rapidly, and if you don't follow up with the latest news and updates, uh, you will be the person who will be left out because of the competition, right? So we all already know the need, but how to do this? Because there are lots of materials coming out daily, right? And it's sometimes very difficult to see through and find the right thing that you need to focus. Couple of ways to do that. Finding like influencers that share these topics, that just they do the little bit of shortlisting for you, that and they find the best interesting topics on different subjects and share it daily. You can find right now on LinkedIn, there are influencers only focusing on NLP, and there are some of them focusing on computer vision just because they know about it, they're interested in it, so they share papers that are relevant. There are websites like Papers with Code. It's a website that shares papers, the latest papers that get published, plus the code, which is very important for data scientists. It used to be difficult to get papers with codes, and replicating the same experiment was something very tiring, and sometimes very painful for me as well. But right now, it is a lot easier. You can find the code in like the website that I mentioned. And the other good news is it has some kind of sort of rating and ranking. So people will kind of give some sort of rating to these articles. So you can always refer to the latest article with the best ranking, and once a week in the weekends, you can find a couple of hours, sift through. The other way, there are also a couple of influencers on YouTube. What they are doing is very interesting. They are interpreting and translating these academic papers into understandable videos. So like, I think it is called 2-minute papers, and that's the video channel. And they just make 2 or 3 minute video out of that paper that talks about what is it about, like beyond those formulas and complexity, what is the gist of the paper and what is the takeaway for you as an enthusiast. As I said, like there are a lot of ways to gets the gist of these interesting trends. But I personally do three of these three. One from YouTube, secondly, papers with code, and thirdly, following some influencers that do the job for me and share top 5 courses, top 5 papers, top 3 weblogs talking about specific topics.
Wow. So 40 minutes kind of came and went by. We had a wonderful discussion, and I hope to the audience that it was worth your time and you had some takeaways. I'll try and list down some of my takeaways from this session. I was trying to take a few notes that Steve, you very nicely put out the fact that you need to showcase your journey of learning. It's just so important. You spoke eloquently about the need to deliver value to the audience. It's not just about you, it's just about the process of shared learning, right? And that makes you sort of create that personal brand. You need to create takeaways for the audience, which is where don't jump on to post an article without you have fully understood what it stands for. And are you able to help the audience simplify some of the key messages and put that out in front? The other thing that on a slightly separate note that you mentioned, which I found very useful personally, was you need to understand yourself first before you start, posting about or wanting to create, your personal brand on social media. So that process of understanding yourself also comes in very, very handy. To the students, a couple of resources that Steve left us with in trying to upskill ourselves. Kaggle, open source projects in terms of the data science resources, papers with code, the 2 minutes video that Steve spoke about. All of these are fantastic learnings for this session. Steve, thank you so much for coming over to the stage, answering the questions that we had. And we sincerely hope to have you back in future on another forum. We will post this interaction on our YouTube channel, so do please follow us across social media channels. And with your permission, Steve, let me hand it back to Sudeep to close this out.
Thank you very much.
Well, what a session we had. Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve, Snehanshu. It was absolutely, you said it right. The 40 minutes just came and went. I didn't even feel that, we finished a 40-minute session now. Well, thank you so much. And thanks to the audience for those amazing questions, and look forward to meeting you all in our next session. Thank you and good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.